Okay, so welcome. Welcome to our March Tech Talk Tuesday. So how's everyone doing? Or just, the few people that logged in? Are you guys ready for spring break next week? Well, hopefully you get nice weather here in Chicago or wherever your plans take you. So enjoy your time away from school and, relax and, get back to school after spring break. But anyway, for this month, we have a topic that draws a lot of interest from various groups of people. So we have people that want to code. They've taken a coding class or have dabbled into code and they loved it. And that's great. Then we have the people that they're not sure if coding is for them. They've taken a coding class and they're on the fence, but they have an open mind to it. So which is good. Then we have the people that have no clue what is coding, what is software engineering, and more importantly, is this something that you can possibly like? And that's fantastic. We want to reach out to those people because those are the people that are going to find this information even more valuable. So in today's session, we will help you get a better awareness and understanding of what is software engineering, what are the skills that are needed, and more importantly, is it a good fit for you? So I always make a reference to this, and I'll make a reference to it. So bear with me. So when I was a hiring manager at BP at British Petroleum, I recruited for many software engineering roles, and I talked to many young ladies on several campuses to encourage them to apply to our open roles. So what I found is that many ladies would be very hesitant to just even consider applying for these roles. They were intimidated to apply. And to be honest, for many, it was just simply a case that they didn't fully understand what is software engineering. So to help us understand that, we have a guest speaker who will share with you her journey from high school to college to her current software engineering role at Microsoft. So stay tuned. You're going to love her story. But before we jump into the main event, we want to go over our usual WIT announcements. So can you move to the next slide, please?
Of course.
So we have Tech Talk Tuesday. Those are our educational sessions, and I can't believe that we only have 2 left for the rest of the school year. Can't believe it, how time just flies by. So we have April and May. So May 29th, we have the power of data and visualization tools. So companies are gathering and storing massive amounts of data. They get data from their clients, from their employees, from their vendors, from their sales department, from their HR group. Everybody's gathering data and storing it. And this space is called big data. So what are companies doing with this massive amount of data? What tools are they using to be able to access this data and prepare it in a way that can be used to make business decisions? That's what our guest for the April 29th is going to share with us in this space. What are companies doing in that space? And more importantly, what are some of the opportunities in the big data space? There's data analysts, data engineers, there's an enormous amount of opportunities in different roles. So we, stay tuned for next month to attend our Tech Talk Tuesday. Then we move into May. So we have May 17th. It's low code, no code programming. So this touches a bit on software engineering, the topic today, but there's a lot of new tools and a new trend in developing applications and software using more friendly user tools that are drag and drop. So it's a little bit away from the traditional software building applications with the software coding. So I'm actually very interested in this topic, and we have somebody that's going to come in that works in this area and show us these new tools that are being used to build applications. So again, April 29th and May 17th, please register for those events. So we're moving on to the reminders. We have the WIT scholarship that opened last month. The deadline is fastly coming. It's April 15th. So we have 2 types of scholarships. One is a financial scholarship that's renewable for every 4 years. Amazing. You get the scholarship in your senior year, and is renewable for the next 4 years in college. What a great opportunity. Again, we're very proud. This is the first year as a nonprofit organization, Women in Technology, and we're offering scholarships. The second type is a non-renewable, open for all. Everybody can apply for this, a one-time scholarship. Again, 2 types of scholarships. The requirements are listed there, very standard for any type of, for scholarships, the essays, the letters of recommendation, and the school transcript. So again, if you're a senior, don't miss the deadline, April 15. And if you have any friends that are seniors, remind them about the deadline approaching. So now moving on to the main event. Let me introduce you to our guest speaker, America Quistano. She's a graduate from UT Austin, where she graduated with a Bachelor's of Science and Art in Computer Science and a minor in business. She's currently a software engineer at Microsoft and also a volunteer for a nonprofit, Nuevo Foundation, that she will share more details with us. So welcome, America, and thank you for being our guest speaker for the evening.
Hi, yeah, thank you. Happy to be here. Yes, as you said, my name is America Cristiano. Seriously, happy to be here. I always like talking with people. I like sharing my story. And yeah, so just kind of explaining what I'm gonna do so you guys are aware. It's not like being, transparent, making like no surprises. I'm basically going to be sharing my story here for a bit. And then towards the end, I'm gonna give a quick little like coding demo, just kind of like one thing you can do with code, a bit more of how you can get into coding, talking about like the foundation in particular there. And then after that, we can have like Q&A in case you guys have any questions. Also feel free to put them in the chat, but I probably won't answer them until later, just because I was telling Estela, the way I tell stories, if I get like on a sidetracked, then I just keep going and I forget to come back. So that's kind of why I will probably have the Q&A at the end. And yeah, so at the end, I also like to take a picture. So warning you now, and I can you don't have to have your camera on if you don't want to, of course. But yeah, just like I'm gonna take a little screenshot and have like a survey too. So you guys can let me know, what you did and didn't like. I always like improving. But that's just kind of the agenda of today, so you know what to expect. But yeah, I'm ready. I'm excited to be here. So without further ado, I did want to say a little bit more about myself. Estela already touched up on like some of the basic things, but I just want to reintroduce myself. I am a first-generation Latina. I recently graduated from UT Austin. I have a little fast ring here. And that's a picture of my family with like at my ring ceremony. But yeah, recently graduated here in May, so very recent. It's not even a year ago, with a bachelor's in computer science and a minor in business. So that was fun. And yeah, I like that picture because that was also the first time my family had visited a campus. I think any college campus, really, except for my mom who toured it with me. But it was really cute. So it was like a huge day for us. Again, being first generation, so everything's just kind of a bit more exciting. So I wanted to put that picture there. But during my college years, I was also the president of the Hispanic Association of Computer Scientists, aka HACS, after being social officer for 2 years. So that was really fun. That's a student org that's like near and dear to my heart to this day. And currently, I am a full-time software engineer at Microsoft, specifically for Bing Ads. I will be more than happy to. I will be talking more about that here in a bit. But that's just kind of who I am right now. Microsoft SWE. Software engineers, you shorten that for SWE in case you see that acronym later on. I am also the community lead for the Nuevo Foundation. As you can see, our little like movie. He's our mascot. He's on my background. I think he's cute, but. That's also what allowed me to come and talk to you, y'all here today. So I'm excited to do that, and I'll talk more about them here later on as well. And I'm also part of the OLA ERG. ERG stands for Employee Resource Groups. So kind of like student orgs, but like for companies. So they're no longer student orgs because they're not students. So they're called Employee Resource Groups. And the OLA is the Hispanic one. So they just have like events every now and then, which are really cool when you get to learn and also just help build the community. So very much an involved person is kind of, I guess, a little bit more about myself. So that's me. And then also just because the pictures here, this is just part of my grad photos. The story I like to share here is lilac is my favorite color. That's the color of this suit. And I call this suit my power suit because whenever I put it on, I feel very much like, I guess, like Superwoman. I once went to a talk where the speaker said how before in the event she does the Superwoman pose to give her like courage. And that's like stuck with me. So I now connect that pose, like the Superwoman pose, with like that suit also as like my super suit. I put it on and I'm like, yeah, like, I can do anything. So obviously I chose it for my grad photos, and that's just me. It's a cute photo with like a college natural sciences stole and then like a little Latinx stole. So this is me. So yeah, today we're going to be talking about my journey. This is one slide. I'm going to be on here for a minute just because there's a lot to it, but I just kind of, I don't like having too many slides. So this will have a few stories to it. But I want to start with what I call my tech journey. How I got into tech, the road that it's led me to, and kind of how I got to where I am right now. Yeah, so ever since I was little, I always knew that I wanted to be in technology. Technology itself, as like a big abstract concept, I guess I would say, always just seemed interesting to me. Nothing in particular, just like the fact that it existed. I remember one day, my dad like had a laptop, and I kept playing with it so much that I think one day he just like gifted it to me, and I had my first laptop at like I think 10, and I was like old. It was his. He used it for like a few things, but I just like messing with it. I don't even know what I was doing. I think it was probably just like on YouTube videos, but like it was like this magic box that existed and that allowed me to gain more knowledge or watch, you know, like whatever fun videos were out there and just things like that. Tech always interested me since I was very little. So I always knew I wanted to do something in tech. And then of course, you know, you watch like, you know, I watch Criminal Minds and stuff, and that'd be there like with like the walls of green like lines of text. Now I always thought that was super cool. I always wanted to know like what that meant. Spoiler, it probably didn't really mean anything, especially because it was on the show. But you know, when I was younger, I didn't know that. I was like, yeah, like they know exactly what every word there means. Probably not, but I was still like very curious. Like that got me excited whenever I was seeing it, just how fast they were typing and stuff. So I wanted to do something in tech. But growing up, I also had other interests. I was a dancer. I did ballet tap jazz for 8 years. I was a photographer. I was even like in yearbook. I was a yearbook editor. I started a newspaper. You know, a school newspaper for high school. I like academics was also very important to me. So I never really got into coding or like I know people were like would tear apart computers and piece them back together. I never really did that either. I hadn't even heard the terms like computer science or computer engineering until my junior year of high school. Basically, whenever it was time to pick a major. So even though the interest in tech was always there, and I knew that's something I wanted to do in the future, I just hadn't really started coding like that. I don't know. I think like yes, it was intimidating to me, but also there was just so many other things I wanted to do that I just didn't get to it. But that didn't mean that didn't make my interest like any less of an interest or make it like any less, if that makes sense. So yeah, so finally junior year came in. I had to pick a major because I was like, I'm gonna go to college, and then I would say, what do I want to study? I don't know. I want to study, I don't know, maybe technology, but I didn't know what that meant. There was also not a major that just said technology. So I was kind of a little stressed. The story I like to say was I went to my guidance counselor and I was like, hi. Also, again, reinstating, I'm a first generation. I am also the first, just the first really to graduate from college. The first time the Cristiano name ever showed up on the diploma was mine. That was cool, but like, that also means I couldn't really ask my parents or any aunts or uncles or any cousins or any siblings. Also the oldest sibling and one of the oldest cousins. Like there was no one family-wise that I could ask for help. Like, what's FAFSA? How do college applications work? What are all the different majors? I didn't know minors were a thing or that you could double major. Like all these words were very like alien to me. They were very new. I was figuring them out as I was going. So just reinstating that, because there's gonna be times in my story whenever I'm like, yeah, I didn't know what this meant. And I just really want y'all to make sure that whenever I say, yeah, I didn't know this was a thing, that I'm not exaggerating. I do genuinely mean, like, I had never heard the words computer science until like I had to hear them. junior year of high school. I did not write a single line of code until I had to for homework in college. So like, I'm not exaggerating, that's the thing. So yeah, so I went to my guidance counselor because I'm like, I need to study a major. I can't really ask family. I was asking friends, but like they would also give me like some very complicated answers. It just kind of confused me more, and I was also kind of embarrassed to say I don't know what you're saying. So to my guidance counselor and said, hi, I don't know what I'm doing. I don't know how to pick because there's a lot of options. And basically what she did was like print out like two like just lists of majors, and I went through them. And honestly, picking what I did want to study was very stressful. So what I ended up doing was just picking what I did not want to study, because that was a lot easier for me. I was like, okay, like agriculture, like I'm a like really nature person, architecture, like that sounds fun, but like not really something I want to like study really much. So I just kind of kept going down the list until I was left with basically, I think it was photography, because that was still an interest, and then computer science and computer engineering. And let me say, finding out what the difference between those two were was kind of very much hard for me. I searched it up on the internet, like, hey, what's computer science versus what's computer engineering? They just kind of gave me more very like complex words that confused me more. So that didn't help with making my decision. I asked a few friends, most of them did not know the answer either. I didn't ask teachers, I probably should have, but I did ask, I think some, but they also didn't know. So there was just a lot of like confusion as to the difference. Finally, someone said, computer science, I think that's coding. Computer engineering, I think that's hardware. And they're right. That's a very, 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 very basic way to say it. But I basically had to like choose, you know, my career, my a very important part of my life based on that question, like a questionable answer. But I said, you know what? I don't want to work with my hands. And I remember like the screens of green like text. And I'm like, I kind of want to figure out what that is. So I'm like, okay, I'm going into coding. So that brings us to the third bullet point, where I say I basically came into college blind. I did not really know what computer science was, even though I had picked it for a major, even though I had a class that said intro to programming on my schedule that I was walking towards. Still had no idea what I was going into. I sat down in the class being like, well, we're gonna find out today. And I also didn't know what to expect from college itself. That was my first time in the campus. I didn't like, it's a very different world from high school. It has like its good things too, and it was very exciting, but it was just also kind of scary and like a lot. So went into college blind, but had a lot of like, you know, we're here, we're gonna make it. But luckily, I quickly learned that like I quickly fell in love with tech again, and my professor was amazing. Shout out to Mike Scott. He just made it very fun and like easy to understand. He also made sure that I didn't feel like whenever I had questions or something, he never made me feel like they were silly questions or that they were something that I should have known. Because looking back, some questions that I asked him were pretty basic, but they were honest questions. Like I did not know. And honestly, I think if he would have like given like any sort of answer of like, oh, like you don't know, like that's like, or any way, or like been any kind of like anything but the super encouraging professor that he was, I think that would have like scared me off a lot. But I was very lucky in that like he was the opposite. He was super like supportive. His TAs, which stands for teaching assistants, were also very supportive. I remember one time, like it's stuck with me. It's very specific moments. It was like I think still like the second week of college. So we were learning, and again, my class was called Intro to Programming. But of course, there were always like students that were like that have been coding for a while, so they would ask very like complex questions, and that would scare me off a little bit because I'm like, I do like it's week 2, we're learning what an integer is, and somebody would ask like, what's a hash map? And I'm like, I don't know what a hash map is. Like, should I know what a hash map is? And it was just a lot. And I know the answer is no. I did not need to know that. That's something we learned like next semester. Because in college, things are per semester, not per year. Apologies if you know this. I just like replace it, like saying this because again, I did not know this. So apologies if y'all know that it's per semester, not a year, but I didn't. So I'm letting y'all know. College is per semester, not per year. So that's something we learned the next semester. Like I did not need to know towards the end of it too. So months before I had to know what a hash map was, but this person was asking that week too, but that's not me. But anyway, one day after class, I had a question. It was a very genuine question, and I went in line, but then this thing called imposter syndrome, which is something that I like talking about, started getting in. So it was after class, he was in his little podium, the professor was, and then there was about 2 people in front of me, and then I got a 9, and then 2 more people got behind me, and then I was like, oh no, my question is too silly. Like, this is passing period basically. I'm like, he has 10 minutes before the next class starts. The people in front of me probably have super like intelligent questions. I'm pretty sure the person that asked what I have, like if we can use hash maps is behind me. Like, I don't want him like hearing my question. And then that like one student in front of me left. So there was one student in front of me and myself. And imposter syndrome was hitting again. Like, oh no, I'm almost up. Like, this is going to be horrible. He is going to laugh at me. He is going to say, like, I'm somehow going to be kicked out of the major. I'm gonna get kicked out of UT. I will have to go back home because of this one question. My mind was just going down a spiral. And then before I could even, like, I was already giving an escape plan. I was like, you know what? I can make it. I'm gonna run. I was gonna leave the classroom. I'm like, I can make it. Like, I'll just say, oh, sorry, my class started 5 minutes ago. I'm late. Gotta go. Like, I'll book it. Before I was like this close to start walking, and then that student in front of me left. So then it was just like me and the professor, and I was like caught basically deer in the headlights. I was like, oh my god, I have to ask my question. And he was like, hi, America. And the fact that he knew my name, let me say this, college professors, especially like this, he gets about 200 students per semester, not per year, per semester. Every, like, what is that, 4 months, he gets 200 new students. He knew my name. And I think that was the first time I had to talk to him. Maybe because it's like an interesting name, but still, he connected the name to the face. He didn't ask. He said, hi, America. He immediately knew my name. And I was like, he took me aback. So I was like, hi, I have a question. Finally asked it. In case y'all do know a bit about coding, I'll share what my question is. So you guys can like maybe agree that it might have been simple, but it was an honest question. Here we were learning in Java. So there are many different coding languages for coding. Just depending on like what you want to do. I will say this right now, there's no need at all for you to know every single one. I will actually say it's impossible for you to know every single one, but also there is no need for it. Like, there's no need, like, please don't try to do that. That's too much. But so don't, I always, when people ask me like the best coding language to start, I'm just kind of like one that you feel comfortable with, but we started with Java. So my question was, what is the difference between a print statement and a println? Very, 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 very basic question, but it was an honest question. I did not know. He went through an entire lecture. He used these 2 words. I did not understand the difference. And honestly, it would have, if I hadn't asked this question, it would have made that homework like a lot harder. But I didn't understand. But I felt a little bit embarrassed to even ask that question. And I thought he was gonna give me like some like 2-answer question and like wave me off. Because, you know, obviously the people behind me had super important questions or whatever. So at least in my head, that's what I was telling myself. But he did not. Instead, this moment has like seriously stuck with me to this day. I sent him an email saying thank you like years later. Instead, what he did was he took out his laptop from his like little bag and he opened it up to an IDE. I forgot what IDE stands for, but basically an IDE is just where you can write code, and it's like a safe place to write code so that you're not writing it directly on your computer. An exaggerated answer is an IDE is so you can write it so you don't make your computer explode. Obviously it won't explode, but you know, just stay with me here. So he put up his IDE and he's like, oh yeah, America, like I'll help you. And he's like, if you write 2 print statements next to each other, then they print as in like they show up on the console or wherever, like right next to each other. But if you write 2 println, the ln stands for a new line. So then they show up under each other. So it's kind of like putting an enter. And I was like, that makes so much sense. I'm sharing this story just to like basically reiterate, like, imposter syndrome is very real. And something that I thought was a very silly question was something that he took very seriously. And he took the time to answer that for me. It made the rest of the homework, I made that homework easier, but also made me a lot more comfortable to ask him a lot more questions. And honestly, if I hadn't asked questions, I wouldn't have grown. If I would have just stayed like with that question, with this fear, because there was a lot of fear. I'll be very honest, there was a lot of fear. I wouldn't have grown. I would have just been suffering like in silence, but that wouldn't have allowed me to like continue growing and learning. So that moment has stuck with me and it's something that I wanted to share. So Yes. So moving on, because I know it's already 4:30 or 6:30 for y'all. But yeah, so I quickly learned that tech was this huge, huge thing. I was honestly very, very surprised at just how big it is. It made me even laugh even more thinking back to like high school, middle school, like younger America, whenever I kept saying like I am going to study tech and get the tech job. I thought there was one tech job. There are so many, so many. Tech is an umbrella term. So something that people don't know, I didn't know, was you do not only need to be like a software engineer or like be writing code to be in tech. There's also PMs. The P stands for different things, but there's like the P can stand for program manager, project manager, another P that I forgot, I think product, program, project, product. Managers, there's data analysts. I need to explain what PMs are. So PMs, I think a very easy way to describe it is as a bridge between like the user. The user can be either like a big company or like an actual like human, just depending on like where you are. You know, like if you're writing code for Word, your user is might be like a person, could be like a college student or a high school student, you know, writing your homework or something else. So the user and the software engineers. So they're kind of like a bridge between the two where they meet actively with the user, making sure that they know what they want, what is their ask, what could be done better, and then kind of translate that into tech words for the software engineers. Like this is kind of like what the user wants, this is what we should build. And then the things are like, because you know, writing code, it's not always, you know, it doesn't normally it does not work the first time. I'll be very honest. It normally does not work the first time, but once it does, it's a really cool feeling. My intro to program, Mike Scott said that it was, once it works, it feels like lightning coming out of your fingertips. And to this day, I stand by that. I think that's the best way to describe that feeling. So, but normally it does not work the first time. So sometimes things take a little bit longer. So whenever things take a little bit longer, the PM can also translate that back to the user, like, hey, you know, this is what's going on. And like maybe not super techy words. So I call them a bridge. There's data analysts, which I would describe their job as like seeing like huge amounts of data and kind of building a story behind it. Because if you just see a lot of numbers, that probably doesn't really mean anything to you. But if you're able to say, oh, hey, based on like these trends or something, we're able to see that there's, I work for Bing Ads. So like there's a spike in clicks of ads during Mother's Day for flowers, you know, and now you're building like you're telling a story versus they're just being like these random numbers. We're like, okay, like there's Mother's Day, I guess it makes sense that more people are looking for flowers. So like, and that data can help, you know, make other decisions. There's consulting. I recently found out about that one. I think like 2 years ago that was a job you can do in tech. You can be a tech consultant. I might try to do that later on. Another thing that I really like about tech is you do not need to be stuck in one location. Even though I'm a software engineer now, if I decide, if I wake up tomorrow with an like that I want to be a PM, I can do that. If I want to be a data analyst, I can do that too, or a consultant. Like it's tech has a lot of flexibility in that I describe it as the need, like in jobs, like in the industry for like people in tech is pretty high, to where I never like see it as like, I don't know, like whenever I was seeing classmates, I'm not like, we're competing for the same jobs. It's like, no, we can all win together. There are so many jobs out there, like with many different companies. So you don't even have to work for a tech company. Like hospitals that use technology, they're gonna need software engineers. Entertainment companies like Disney, Spotify, like they need software engineers too, or data analysts, or consultants, NPMs. Like all these things is just huge, huge, huge. There's just so much you can do with tech, and I think that's one of the main reasons that like that it's kept me captivated to this day. I'm still in tech, so I just want to share that too. And apart from that, really quickly, apart from all those different job roles you can have, there's different departments you can be in. Meaning, I'm sharing this because it's important to me, because whenever I came in, I thought the only thing I could do as a software engineer was write code for websites. I thought that was it. I was very wrong. There is so much you can do. Yes, there is website development. There is also app development for your phone. There's artificial intelligence. There's machine learning. There's the cloud. Like someone had to come up with the cloud. That's a pretty relatively new concept, you know, like instead of, you know, just storing things in the cloud. That's kind of new. There's that. There's game development. There's networks, so how like computers communicate with each other. There's security. There's just so many like different roles you can have. So many different like subjects, I guess I would say, that you can be in, to where I think it's honestly pretty hard for tech to be like a boring face or something that you would say I don't have a fit there, because there's just too many opportunities, too many possibilities, too many combinations. If you have a love for something, there's a way you can combine it with tech. Another point here, it's also quickly changing. If there's a field you don't see that like interests you, you could create an entirely new field. Like that's not something unheard of. Like again, the cloud, someone came up with that. So yes, this is something I want to share. I think that's going to be the end here because I see it's 36. I still want to do a quick demo and the Q&A, of course. But yes, I want to share that. So currently I was able to get 2 tech internships at Microsoft. I was able to do that through student orgs at my university. And we had a lot of sponsors. One of them was Microsoft, but basically sponsors was like companies that would like come and talk to us. So there was, there was Google, what other sponsors? There was like GoDaddy, like other companies that would just come and like talk to us, talk about their like internship opportunities. What I found out that was really cool was that a lot of companies, namely the big ones, so like Microsoft, that's how I got in, Google, Facebook, Twitter, have internships specifically made for freshmen and sophomores. So like they're aware, they probably don't know much, and that's okay. And they'll still take you in and have you learn. And that's how I got in. I was the Microsoft one is called the Explore program. For half of it, you're a SWE, software engineer. For the other half of the internship, you're a PM. So I got to explore 2 roles, so which is really cool. And I did it as a sophomore. I was not able to get an internship as a freshman, mainly because I didn't really existed until like the end of the first semester, and by then most applications had closed. So that was kind of like my bad. But I'm not harsh on myself because again, first generation, I was just not aware that that was the thing. So that's why I like sharing, like, hey, these exist, and there's some specifically for freshmen, so you can start off. They also pay, so that's nice. I got to use some of the money to help with my family. So they exist. I got them from student orgs, but you can also get them. Maybe your school might have career fairs. There's or just like researching them, like Google them or something. They'll show up. But just they exist. Don't be scared. I really want to share this, but I know there's one more slide I need to get through. But last thing I will say here, I promise, was just something that also stayed with me about like, because Estella made a point of like people being afraid to like apply for like these types of jobs or opportunities. Something that stuck with me is just this kind of goes into my next slide, but the reality of tech is there's honestly not that many women in it. I think even today while I was in the office and I opened the door for like the women's bathroom and the light turned on and I was like, cool, that's great. But so there's not that many women, and something that I'm also trying to help with. But the reality is apparently due to a study that was done, it was said that like if there's a job application out there, women will look at in general, at the like the requirements. And if they do not fit every single one, they won't apply. Versus a man might see that they fit 30%, 70%, and they're like, yeah, and they'll apply. And then they'll get it. So whenever you start tricking yourself as like, oh, I'm not, I don't know, like this is too scary, like I'm not the one that they're looking for, you probably are exactly what they're looking for. You just need to believe in yourself a bit more, because other people that are either equally or maybe even a little less qualified than you are applying. So why shouldn't you? So next slide, because I'm running out of time. This one will go by quickly. I kind of already touched on a few things, but there's something that I went through that I call my unexpected journey. And basically, yes, it did not take long for me to sit down in my classes, look around the room, and realize I was kind of the only Latina in the room. So I was like, interesting. I refused to believe that I was the only Latina, because UT is a huge school. In that entire major, in my entire year, I'm like, nope, this is not okay with me. I am going to find my community. And I did. Like I said, I became the president of the Hispanic Association of Computer Scientists. Near and dear to my heart. I saw us grow from a group of like 10 kids to one time we had a general meeting that had over 100 people in it. So I was like, beautiful. Got more involved with other orgs. You can see here in the background. This is another photo from my graduation photo set, but like ABCS, the Association of Black Computer Scientists. Here's HACS. Then we had our own diversity office, which is cute. I love it so much that I took a picture in front of it because it was like a second home to me. I also joined fellowships aimed to help underrepresented students, for namely MLT, Management Leadership for Tomorrow, which is really cool. Shouting them out. You can apply to sophomore in college. You know, I volunteered my time for Nuevo. I still am. I love this nonprofit. I will talk about them here in a bit. And normally when I'm doing my thing, I think often about my little sisters and my little cousins. Like I said, I am the oldest, or one of the oldest cousins. There's a few that beat me, but I am the oldest sister. And whenever I went through basically applying for college alone and figuring this out alone, I like to think that, yes, I went through that and it wasn't fun, but I'm now able to help them have like a way smoother ride. Like they have messaged me like, hey, what's FAFSA? And I'm like, I got you. And I like helping them. I like giving back. That's something that has seriously motivated me. I think about them. Also, I like giving talks like this. And I just imagine how powerful it would have been if I had attended one of these, or if they, like my cousins or my sisters, had attended one of these. I'll probably drag my sisters into one of these one day. But that's kept me going. And yeah, this unexpected journey quickly became my focus in my college years, and even now it's a full-timer. So that's all I'll say there. So 41, okay. My advice to you is you are never too late to start. I remember being a little intimidated by thinking that, like, again, I did not write, I'm not exaggerating, a single line of code until I got into university, until I had to for homework. And it was pretty cool. But like I did not write it until before. So anyone that like writes code before, I'm like, great for you. Like you're already ahead of me, which means you can probably go even further. And I find that very exciting. But if you haven't, I don't want anyone to think like it's too late for me, because it's not. I think I know at least for UT, they said they also look into like if you have like good, like strong, like if you're good at math or something. Because I said I did not take computer science classes. I did not write code. I did not know code, but I was still able to get into the major. So I think they look at strong math for the major specifically. But that's for that school. I cannot speak for everybody. But yeah, you're never too late to start. Something that stuck with me was, I know one time someone said, like, the human brain, you know, works like we always compare ourselves to other people, and you probably have heard this the saying like, don't compare yourself to others, which I agree with, but realistically that's kind of hard to do. Your brain just starts comparing. So talk that I saw that, and they added a second part to that saying, which has stayed with me. So it's something that I want to share with y'all. Instead of comparing yourself to others, why not compare yourself to your past self? Think about, even just right now, think about where you were a year ago, 5 years ago. You're probably very little, right? So it's not hard to think about, but even like 2 months ago, I've done that a lot. To this day, I still do that, especially whenever, because again, that's a full-timer. That's just because I overcame imposter syndrome once, does that not mean that I'm done with it forever? It still happens, still comes up. So every now and then, whenever I start like hearing this, like, I don't know, I'm like, this might be imposter syndrome. You start noticing some words. I stop and reflect on myself. Like, where was I, 7 months ago when I first started this job versus where I am now, at Microsoft, or a year ago whenever I was in college, or 5 years ago when I was still in high school. I had no idea about the tech world, and now I'm here. And it's really changed my perspective on a lot of things. And I think it's helped me just be aware of like all the like great things that I've done. So I hope it helps y'all. So I wanted to share that. Try and find something that you're passionate about and follow it. Again, I had no idea what I was doing. I still like to say I really don't know what I'm doing. I just know that I like tech and I follow that passion, which led me to a passion for diversity and inclusion, which led me to where I am right now, which is like a pretty good spot. And I believe my journey is not done. I still think I'm in the beginning, if I'm being honest. So I'm excited to see where this passion continues to take me. And then lastly, yeah, stay curious and don't be afraid to ask questions. That's back to the story that I shared with my teacher. It helps. So moving fast, because I see that it's 44. But no foundations. So you saw my background, you see movie here. Our mission is to inspire kids to be courageous, curious, confident, and courageous by discovering the world of STEM, namely underrepresented kids. And it's something, again, a mission that's important to me, became important to me, and something that I like helping with. And one way that I help is by just sharing my story. I know growing up, everyone that I heard about that was in tech had been coding since they were very, very little. And that made me feel even more scared to start. So I like sharing the fact that, like, hey, like, it's not too late, and you can still be fine, and you can still be okay later on. So I like sharing my story, is what I like to say. But anyway, I want to do a very, very quick demo because I know I still need to do the WIT reminders, and I want to give like time for Q&A. But the chat, I know this talk was still just beginning of coding, so a very quick one. And I have it set up here. Can you see my screen?
Yeah. Yes, we can see it.
Okay, cool. Wonderful. Perfect. That's the wrong one. Okay, so Nuevo. Here's our website. This is going to be in the next slide. But we have many, many workshops you can go to. And we have many here. I know a lot of things, like this uses Python, some use like SQL. A lot of these are also beginner friendly. Most of them are actually made for beginners. So in case you're wondering, coding sounds interesting, but how can I start? This is the way to start. We also have like video tutorials on a lot of them. So just kind of pointing this out. One that I'm going to show today is Python Turtle. I'm not going to go through the tutorial. I'm actually, if you can see it, activity 18 towards the end. I just kind of want to show like something that you can do with code. These workshops are free and available for you like right now, forever. They will forever be free. So if you wanted to try this specific one or different ones on today or later, or show your siblings or your friends or whatever, like they're available. But basically this thing is Python Turtle. It uses Python. We have a little turtle and we can make it write shapes. So here is code. This is code. Python specifically. Python is a coding language. Again, there are many, many coding languages. No need to know all of them. What I like to say is also once you know the coding logic, it's really easy to like translate that to different languages. Yeah. So for example, Microsoft has me writing code in languages that I hadn't used before, but that's okay because I know the logic, so I know what to look for. So it's like, okay, how do I do this thing that I know I need to do, but in this language? And searching things on the web, it's your friends. Like, that's not really frowned upon. It's fine. I don't have to remember everything. That's kind of pretty hard. But anyway, so there's like this, it's called a method. It's called draw hexagon. So just like a piece of code that will do something, that's a method. There's a for loop. There's another one over here. Here's another method. It's just called draw honeycomb. And the for loop is just, it will do a loop. So it will do these instructions as many times as you tell it. Here it says, do this 6 times. So this is code. If this does not make sense to you, it is okay. As you can see, I skipped to the end. So we go step by step. But just kind of very quickly, just so you know what code looks like, it's here. And there's a few more things here. But I'm just going to hit run. And we're going to see what this method does. So as you see, here's a turtle. And if you saw the for loop, it said do this specific thing 6 times. And here's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. It wrote a line 6 times. And it did that again. And again and again and again and again. So it's just a repetitive piece of code that did it again, 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 and now drew a honeycomb. And just really quickly, again, I'm gonna change this to red so you can see I'm changing code. And I'm gonna say, hey, maybe go a little slower. Instead of speed 8, let's do speed 4 and see what happens. So we're gonna hit run, and now it's red. And now it's going slower because I told it to. What is important about coding, and also can sometimes be a little frustrating because you remember it, and whenever my friends and I, like, if we get bugs, we tell each other this, and we're like, okay, yeah, we know, but like, calm down, is code, or like the computers, well, how do I describe this? I describe it as the computers aren't smart, I guess. Like, they will do exactly what you tell them to do. They're not, they cannot guess for you. Or some of them can. There's machine learning. There's like a whole thing that is dedicated to guessing for you. But for the most part, like for like this code thing, if I just like, I don't know, had a typo here, did red, the computer is not gonna really understand what I mean. Like it doesn't think. It just follows instructions that I told it to. So I told it to make them red and go slower, and it did. in case, I actually don't know what happens if I do this. I think it might be an error. I'll see, it did not understand. It did not think like, oh, she made a typo. It just went to the default of black. So we will do that to the, yeah, my friends and I will make a joke of like, it's not working, we don't know why. And we're like, you told it to do that thing. I don't know what to tell you. And it's like, okay, maybe I did, but apparently I don't know what I told it to do. So like here, like small things, you know, code can be like a lot and it's very fragile, but once it works, seriously, that like lightning coming out of your fingertips is very real and it happens. And it's just exciting. This is a relatively simple project. It can be as complicated as you want it to be. That's all that I'll show right now. But like, again, these are available for y'all. I can put this like in the chat if that would help you guys. But available for y'all. You guys can play around with it. There's other workshops you can do. But yeah, just wanted to share that. So going back, it's already 50. I was gonna say stay in touch. Our website, my email, Nuevo's emails, our Instagram. You know, we're here. But I will leave this time. I know it's almost time, but just Q&A. Do you guys have any questions I can answer for y'all? Let's see. I will do this one.
Don't be shy, girls. You can put your question in the chat or verbally, whatever's easier for you.
Yes.
So in the meantime, so America, so if the website is open, like all those workshops that you listed there, if somebody, let's say somebody hasn't taken a coding class, they want to just like do some simple, you know, very basic Java or Python, they can go in there. They don't need to register or anything. They can log in there and try it.
Yes, that is correct.
Yeah. Because I think that would be really helpful for, I think in particular, some of the freshmen and sophomore, I don't know, maybe the juniors and seniors as well. But if you haven't had a chance to, if you don't know if you like coding, this is the perfect, like over the summer, right? You can dabble into, you know, do I like it? You know, is this something that, you know, that I could possibly be good at, right?
Yes, exactly. That's why we like it. And again, most of them are geared to like beginners. So if you have never written code before, we have that audience in mind. There are also some like intermediate ones. I don't know if we have any difficult ones, but just like some people that are like, oh, I've done this a bit and I want to try a bit more. And again, this is just an intro. There's so much you can do to code, but we try to keep like some like simple, fun ways for you guys to get like an introduction to what code looks like, and so you can play with it too. But yes, yeah, free. You guys can go on that right now. You know, hold me true to my word. Yeah, you do not need anything special. Like that's there for you guys forever. We're a nonprofit. We completely free. We just want to inspire kids to go into STEM. So all for y'all.
So we're you're okay with us sharing this with you know, the broader group, the ones that weren't able to make the session today, we can share with them, because I think there's some students that could benefit from this. Because I even thought about when I said let's do a demo, you know, just what does code look like? What is hello world, right? Just run a print station.
Yeah,
so this is perfect. I thought your demo was excellent.
Thank you. Again, we skipped a few things, but so if that was scary, please don't be scared. I did skip things, but yes. Okay, Francesca, you have a question.
Hi, I just wanted to say I really loved your story. Like being first generation, like I have that in common. I don't have parents who like were very involved with like school and everything, so it's like a different like approach. But I just wanted to like see, I thank you for the coding, like the Nuevo Foundation, like it seems very interesting. Okay, so with coding, I know it's more of like a language, but do you use like a ton of like math with it, or is it more just like kind of understanding the language?
Yeah, I would say, I'm gonna hate this answer, but I'll explain myself. Depends on what you go into. If you go into machine learning, graphics, I think even AI, those people use a lot of math. You kind of need to. I do not. I know that like for college applications, they do look into like, at least for UT, again, I cannot speak for every college, that's too many. They do look into, maybe strong math things and how to take statistics and calculus. But honestly, in my day-to-day, if I'm being honest, as a software engineer, I don't think I even use like algebra. Maybe a little bit of algebra, like once in a blue moon, but like it's mainly like coding logic. But like there are some like math things I need to understand, but it's not, at least for what I'm in, which is, I don't know, just being asked, just I'm not in machine learning. I think those people like graphics, they use calculus, they do use like trig probably, like yes, it depends on what you do. You might need a lot of math. I do not, I'm not using calculus on my day-to-day. I don't think I've ever used calculus in any of my homeworks or on any of my work or my projects. For internships, I got to do two internships, so each one had a project to it. I did not use calculus, so no, I don't need it. But again, depends. If you machine learning, graphics, those would, but like app website design, I don't know what I would call Bing ads. I'm just kind of software engineer. I don't know where I would put myself under, but I don't use too much math, really.
Oh, okay, thank you. Also, real quick, another question. Since you're software engineer and you minored in business, do you find that minoring in business helps your career or like where you are now?
I think so, yes. I was also able to study abroad, and then I went to the Paris School of Business, which was cool that I got to do that. I also think my business minor helps because, again, if I wanted to do a PM, that helps that I know the business side of things. Also, for other things, I like to know the business side of things a bit more. It's not just like me being focused in like the code, but like also the broader, like what Microsoft is doing. I know also, like, again, I think like tech and any other combination works really well. But I know that like tech and business is like a combination that happens often because people might want to start their own startups. I don't really want to start a startup, but I like that I have that option. Or if I later on wanted to start like a smaller business, I thought of maybe like if I want to open a bakery for my mom, who's an amazing like bakery person, I could maybe do that. I can help a little bit with that. Also, just helps my personal. I took like finance classes. I think that just helps me as a human. But yeah, I do think it helps, but it's not like a necessity, I would say. But it's a combination that a lot of people, like a lot of my friends, were also business minors, which is kind of funny. But yeah, that's my answer. Does that help answer your question?
Yeah, like adds a lot more opportunity. Thank you.
Yeah, of course. Are there other questions? Again, my Nuevo email is here too, in case you would rather like ask me something later. Again, I love helping people, so it's there.
Yeah, I wanted just to add to Francesca's question. So when I hired people, I think when you have somebody with, the technical background and you've got the business background, I think it just adds a different dimension. Sometimes it makes you stand out from other candidates. And you find that the people that have another minor, they tend to have more people skills, which is always good in technical roles to be able to communicate and work with people. Not that the other computer science don't, but it just adds a different dimension. It I think stands out as a more competitive applicant. So I think I highly encourage to be able to do that if possible. So
yeah.
Anyway.
I'm still here for questions, but I just want to say this feedback form, I wouldn't mind filling that out. It helps me. It helps me just like be better at sharing my story. So I would appreciate that if you do. And then thank you. I want to take a picture too, if that's okay with y'all. And then I get more questions, I'm open. And then I think after this, I just have like the wet reminders. But if you guys would like to like turn on your cameras and take a picture with me, that'd be cute. And if not, you don't have to. I'm not gonna force anyone. But I like seeing people's faces. And I'll stop sharing momentarily just so the screen is bigger. You know the thing? You know the thing.
Me too.
We're gonna stop sharing so this is bigger, and I'll reshare again in 2 seconds. Okay. But hi, nice to meet y'all. Okay, let's see. Estella turned yours off. I understand that. Okay, no, okay. 3, that's fine. I'll count down so people know when I'm taking it, and I'll take like 2 or 3 in case people blink. But it's just for us because we like saying like, hey, we were here. Okay. Okay, ready? 1, 2, 3. Okay, thank y'all. I'll continue sharing my screen. Cool. Okay, and then, yeah, the feedback form would be great. If you have more questions, please let me know. If not, I can go to the reminders.
That is awesome. I do like the screens. We're able to see people.
Isn't it cute? I like it.
Well, thank you, America. I love so many points to it. You know, you were so sincere and so willing to share, very genuine. And I think, you know, that comes from the heart. Thank you so much. We truly appreciate it. So thank you for being our guest speaker. It was just fantastic. I think when you give back, sometimes you don't realize, but you're helping people in so many ways. So yeah, I hope you continue to do this and be an inspiration and a role models, because we do need more females in technology, and you know, we have to help each other. So exactly the reason that, you know, we started this nonprofit. So thank you, America. Appreciate it very much.
Thank you.
Yeah. So just reminders, just girls, please please register for the April 29th. You know, the Power of Data and visualization tools coming up. And then just a reminder, the scholarship deadline is approaching April 15th. So if you're a senior or have a friend that's a senior, please ask them to apply. The deadline is April 15th. So anyway, thank you very much. Thank you, girls, for joining the session. Thank you, America, for being our guest, and have a nice evening. Thank you so much.